In this video, I have the most underrated exercise for strengthening your hips for jiu-jitsu. Let's go. As one of my jiu-jitsu coaches has said, jiu-jitsu is about hips and grips. Now we're going to ignore the grips part of that today and we're going to focus on the hips. Now the exercise we're going to do is the Romanian deadlift. Yes, I understand. It's a simple exercise. You probably know the Romanian deadlift already. You might even already be doing it, but it's one of the most butchered exercises I see athletes, gym goers, anyone do. And I'm going to take you through how to do it properly to strengthen your hips for jiu-jitsu, for wrestling and grappling. Obviously, there's a lot of carryover to the sport, being able to resist posture breaks, having strong hips during the stand-up to finish takedowns, to hold opponents and pin them as well. Not only that, you also bulletproof your lower back, you also lengthen your hamstrings and your glutes while you're doing it. So it's an all-in-one exercise that should be a staple within your program. It's a staple within pretty much all of my combat sports strength conditioning programs that you'll find on Sweet Science of Fighting. So first, let's run through. I'm just going to run through a few key points and I'm going to show you the exercise done properly. First thing is head position. When we're thinking head position, you'll see a lot of people looking up as they Romanian deadlift or looking down with the chin tucked. Honestly, I don't think there is, in my opinion, any real difference. Obviously, you can find what's more comfortable for you. Typically, having your chin a little tucked and looking down feels better when you do this exercise. Play around with both. Obviously, you have Olympic weightlifters like to look up, but either way, keeping your head neutral, you cannot go wrong with that too. The next is when you're holding the bar, how far you're going to push your hips back. So many people will just bend over as their Romanian deadlift, but bending over is not a Romanian deadlift. You need to push your hips backwards. That's all that matters in this hip hinging exercise. It's how far you can push your hips back. And as soon as your hips start moving backward, then you need to thrust your hips forward. Thirdly, with the knees should remain in a relatively slightly bent position. They shouldn't be completely straight and they shouldn't keep bending as you push the hips back. You want to lengthen the hamstrings. If your knees start to bend as your hips are going backward, you're not lengthening the hamstrings and you're not getting those benefits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the Romanian deadlift now. I'll show you. Make sure to use straps when you do this. I know a lot of people will be like, don't use straps. You need to strengthen your grip, blah, blah, blah. You're going to strengthen your grip doing other things. The Romanian deadlift, we want to strengthen our hips. Use the straps because we're going to eventually be using loads that are essentially difficult to hold unless you have iron thumbs and can hook grip huge weights. So first things first, when you get in there, grip width, just use your normal deadlift grip. That's fine too. What you may notice is that I don't actually get that low. The bar only just gets past my knees. And that's as far as essentially my hips will go back. And that's where I feel a huge stretch in the hamstrings. That's all you need to do. If you go all the way to the floor, then you start getting into stiff leg deadlift territory, which is going to essentially put more stress on your lower back, which has its time and place. But for the Romanian deadlift, we're looking to target the hamstrings and the glutes and a bit of the lower back with that. So when you're adding this to your grappling strength conditioning program, you're looking at anywhere between 3 to 8 or 10 reps, depending on what you're trying to achieve. I like to sit within the 5 to 6 rep range, 2 to 4 sets, and you can do this near the beginning of your session. Ideally, you don't do it at the end because it's one of your big compound moves. Typically, I like to use the Romanian deadlift over the traditional deadlift from the floor. So if you see some of my strength training programs, I'll use front squat as the main quad dominant squat movement, and then I'll use the Romanian deadlift as the hinge movement instead of the deadlift. And you'll find that sometimes there's a compromise between what you're going to do in the gym and how much you're doing within technical training. If you are doing heavy back squats, but you're also doing heavy deadlifts in the same week, something might give eventually. And in my experience, you're going to get more out of doing something that's a pure hip hinge movement that has an isocentric component like the Romanian deadlift versus the deadlift, and using the squat versus using just the traditional deadlift and the squat when you're getting a similar stimulus in both. But give this a try. If you like this kind of video showing these exercises, please let me know because then I can make more of them. Also, if you check down in the description, link to Sweet Science of Fighting Underground Community, programs, all that stuff is there.